You are now listening to the IELTS podcast. Learn from tutors and ex-examiners who are masters of IELTS preparation. Your host, Ben Worthington.
Hello there, IELTS students. In this tutorial, we are looking at the listening test. Specifically, I'm going to share with you types of listening. We're going to look at common problems students encounter. We're going to have a detailed look at the test, the format, the different parts, and the different types of questions. And then at the end, I will share with you 3 great preparation strategies, and these strategies came from students who scored like band 8 or band 9. These are tried and tested strategies for you to also try and test for your own preparation. Also, what I want to do to make sure you get absolute value from this tutorial is I'm going to ask you 5 questions now. So I want you to write down these questions, okay, and listen through the whole podcast, through the whole tutorial, and then when you hear the answers, write them down, send them to Ben@IELTSPodcast, okay, and the first student to send me the correct answers gets a free course, and if you're the 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, or 5th, we can give you an essay correction free. So we'll give it to the first, to the next 5. Okay, so it's only valid in 2020 though, so be careful. If you're listening to this in January, it's too late. Now, here are the questions. Throughout the entire listening test, what is the maximum number of people talking in each part? Throughout the entire listening test, what is the maximum number of people talking in each part? Question number 2. How many question types are there? Multiple choice, labeling, and so on and so forth. Question 3. What is the name of the student who shared his Excel file of synonyms extracted from the listening tests? How long is the test? That's question 4, sorry. How long is the test? Question 5. What is the name of the little trick that catches out low-level students? What's the name of the little trick that catches out low-level students? So send your answers to Ben@IELTSPodcast.com and we'll get back to you. And as I said, the first one to do that will get a free course to jump to band 7 or its free course to help you with your reading, writing, speaking. And the next students will get a free essay correction, but it's only valid in 2020 though. Before we jump in, let's just have a look at the 2 types of listening strategies. There is top-down and bottom-up. Kind of sounds strange, doesn't it? Well, let me explain. Top-down strategies, these are when you are listening and predicting the main idea. So you're listening for the main idea, you're predicting, you're inferring, and you're kind of summarizing. So it's not sort of like a direct link. You hear XYZ and you write down XYZ. No, you're just trying to get what's communicated. You're not actually going for a literal transcription, so to speak. And then the other style of listening is bottom up. This is where you use linguistic knowledge to understand the information. So you rely on the language in the message. So you're looking for the specific details. Okay? So you're going to have to recognize word order, the numbers, and the letters, so to speak. So it's just it's important to bear this in mind because the test will be covering both of these types of listening, bottom up and top down. Let's have a look at the common problems students will face. Now, a successful student who scored, I think it was about band 8 overall, and is going to Canada. He took advantage of the lockdown and he's now going to... He's got his preparation sorted. He's in Canada, because of Corona, new immigrants were limited, so the Canadian authorities took advantage of the immigrants that they had already in Canada, and they kind of relaxed the requirements so as to meet the quotas set by the government. Anyway, he pointed out that one of the biggest challenges he had with the listening was maintaining his concentration skills. And this is incredibly relevant for the IELTS listening because it's 30 minutes, as you know, and you've got to remain intensely focused throughout the whole 30 minutes. Your mind just cannot wander. And this is especially important in the IELTS because, as you know, you only get one chance to listen to the recording. It's not repeated a few times like we used to, like what used to happen in the classroom. So, related to concentration power, at the end of this tutorial, I'll share some techniques on how you can boost your concentration. So related to this is a common problem students might find with their listening is the distractions. Okay, so this is why it's important that if you can find a test center that does the listening with headphones, then choose that one because it's much, much easier for yourself. Likewise, when you are practicing your listening, go for a distraction-free zone. And I always recommend students to listen to authentic English material, but use headphones because these stimulate the auditory nerve, which makes it much more powerful. And also, it's much easier to ignore people if you've got your headphones on. Not that I ever do that, but it's much easier to ignore people so you can stay focused. And now, another challenge is listening to different pronunciation or different accents. So this is why it's good just to be familiar with all the different types of accents. Just recently, I've been studying and working using FocusMate, where you book a session and then you meet. It matches you up with somebody else and then you study together online. It sounds a little bit creepy. It sounds a little bit weird, but it works. And I'm mentioning it because every single day I'm meeting with people with different accents. Yesterday I met with Karen from South Africa. The other day I met with, who was it now? Erwin? He's from Birmingham, so he talked like that. And you just meet so many different people and you talk for about literally a minute saying, okay, what are you working on in this session? And then you've got a window of them. You can see them working. They can see you working. And for some reason, it just makes you focused. It just makes you knuckle down and get the work done. So if you are a master procrastinator, have a look at focusmate.com. And you'll also be able to talk with somebody at the beginning, at the end of each 50-minute session. Right. Now, the next, related to pronunciation and accents, is the speed of delivery. Now, a lot of people say that they can understand me, and that's because I speak slightly lower than a native English speaker. There's probably a million reasons for that. I haven't lived in England for at least 15 years. My girlfriend's a non-native English speaker. I've been teaching English for the last 10 years, more or less. And all of this adds up to slowing down my accent. But what it does, slowing down my speed of delivery. And it just makes it easier for people to understand. If I go to England, I usually start speeding up the rate at which I speak at, just because I'm around native English speakers, whereas here, where I am at the moment, I'm rarely in contact with native English speakers. Right then. Now, if you do kind of suffer from this speed of delivery problem, for example, you're watching a movie and all you hear is sort of like a random word, or just a block of sound, this is incredibly common, then you need to really dive into it. And a good resource to investigate, or a good area to start with, is connected speech. Connected speech is what native English speakers and high-level non-native English speakers do all the time. practically unconsciously. And what it is, for example, you might say, he is an engineer. That's disconnected speech. But if I say, he's an engineer, it's all kind of pushed together, and it can sound like two words almost. He's an engineer, you know? And this is the difference between the low-level students and the high-level students, because the higher-level students can really differentiate between those, can basically chop up that block of sound and pull out these single words. Interestingly, even, I just read this online, and it's a little bit of a tangential thought, but dogs have amazing hearing, but they don't have the intelligence to split up the sound. So even though it's incredibly more powerful, they don't have the processing power that humans do to split up the sound. And more interestingly, this is something that we can learn, because if I listen to Chinese now, all I hear is just a block of sound. But if I focus, and after maybe 6 months of, or probably a year of incredible focus, I can probably start to pull out different sounds from that and get different words. And it's exactly the same for you when you're learning English. And we can speed the whole process along by doing by using different strategies, and obviously studying more. Let's jump into the test format now. And if you are, if you're researching this, or if you want to go back and just check it, maybe a few days before your test, just to get familiar, then go to IELTS.org. Okay? You cannot go wrong when you're at IELTS.org. This is the official site. So, in the IELTS test, you're going to be there for 30 minutes. You're going to listen to 4 recordings. Okay? Recording 1 is going to be a conversation between 2 people set in an everyday social context. Recording 2 is a monologue. One person talking. It might be a speech. And it's an everyday social context. Recording 3 is a conversation of up to 4 people set in an educational or training context. So it could be a student and a university tutor talking about a lecture or an assignment. And then the final recording, number 4, is a monologue about an academic subject. One person talking again. And it's obviously going to be more difficult because these are progressively harder and harder. Now, the people who write these exams, they're looking at evidence of your ability to understand the main ideas and detailed factual information. So like what we said before, it's top down and bottom up. Okay, those 2 different concepts in listening. So as I said, main ideas, factual information, opinions, attitudes, details, and basically also evidence of your ability to follow the development of ideas. And this is really important because one of the little tricks they do, I'll reveal later, correlates very closely to this ability to follow the development of ideas. Right then, so as you know, there's 4 parts, and they're getting progressively harder, and the recordings will include a range of accents ranging from British, Australian, New Zealand, American, Canadian. There's quite a range there, all native English speakers as well. Okay, so you get 30 minutes, and then you get 10 minutes of transfer time, 40 questions. Now, what are the types of questions? Well, we've got multiple choice, matching, we've got labeling a plan, map, or diagram. We've got summary completion of a flowchart, a table, a note, And then we've got sentence completion. Okay, so it was multiple choice, matching, plan, map, diagram, labeling, that's 3. Summary completion of a flowchart, a note, or a form, and then that's 4. And then sentence completion, that's 5. So if you're doing the paper-based one, you get 10 minutes at the end to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. Now, be careful, because you've got to make sure your spelling is perfect, otherwise it's counted as an incorrect answer. And likewise with your grammar. Your grammar has to be perfect too, otherwise it is penalized. Okay? And each mark is worth 1. Each question is worth 1 mark. Okay? Now, if you're doing IELTS on computer, it can be a little bit more difficult because there's this new skill of listening and typing at the same time, which might be a bit of a challenge. But if you go to our site and you find this recording on our site, we are going to link to a special exercise that helps you improve this. What happens is basically you paste a list of words or even postcodes, whatever, and then the computer will read those out, and then you've got to type them as you listen. And it's really valuable exercise for this skill of typing, listening, and writing at the same time, which is quite a new skill, and a lot of students who have taken the computer-based test have struggled with it. Okay, so find this recording, just put into Google or search online IELTS podcast Introduction to IELTS Listening Test, and you'll find this resource, and you'll find the tool that we are sharing on our site. So in the 40 item test, as you know, there's 40 questions. Each question is worth 1 mark. These are then calculated, and obviously if you get 40 out of 4, you get a band 9. And yeah, you can check online the correlation or the calculation, okay? And you can get band 9, and you can also, obviously, as you know, get half band scores as well. So sometimes you might be just over, sometimes you might be just under. So that's a very brief overview, okay? And hopefully you got some of the answers to the questions that I asked earlier. Now, let's have a look at different strategies you can use to improve your chances of scoring high on the exam. The first one, you can deconstruct the test. So by this, I mean, first you look at the answers in your test book and then go back to the question and reverse engineer. So look at the answers and then listen again, and then try and work backwards as to how or why that is the answer. This is a really valuable exercise, because not only is it going to help you get into the mind of the examiner, but if you do this enough, you are going to be able to sort of like identify the actual question structure and what they're aiming for and why this is the answer and why it's not this. And it's just really valuable, because then they're going to use the same technique in the next test and in future tests. So when you are listening to your next practice test, you'll be like, I recognize this technique. It's not going to be this answer. It's going to be this answer. So just to summarize, find your test paper, your mock paper, and go to the answers first and then listen and reverse engineer. Also, it's a little bit easier. So if you are a little bit fatigued, if you are feeling mentally tired and you don't feel up to doing a full-on listening test, do the reverse. It's a little bit easier, and it's also a very valuable exercise. Now, second preparation strategy. is to listen to the recording, but write down all the synonyms and all the paraphrasing that you hear. Okay, so the on the test you might hear something like, the tire is in the boot of the car. Where is it? Where's the wheel? Is it at the front or at the back? And I say, the wheel's in the back. Okay, so there we've just heard two synonyms for tire. We've got tire and wheel, and then we've got boot and back of the car, which broadly mean the same as well. And fortunately for you, when you sign up to IELTS Podcast, we will give you a massive PDF of synonyms and paraphrases already. Because what happened was a student of ours, he deconstructed and he listened to about 12 listening tests, and he mapped out he put them all into an Excel sheet, all the synonyms and all the paraphrasing, all the collocations that he heard, and put them all into one big spreadsheet. And then he basically just, I think he ended up scoring a band 8 or band 9. Okay. But we got that Excel sheet off him. We put it into a massive PDF, and you can get that when you sign up to our email list. VNOD was the name of the student who made this list from all these Cambridge listening tests that he did, and it is incredibly valuable. Now, the third preparation strategy I want to share with you, and this is incredibly valuable because it's also going to help you with your writing. And if you're struggling with listening, a possible reason is that your vocabulary isn't big enough. So how do we expand our vocabulary? Well, some idiot teachers will say practice, 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 and I hate that advice because it's not actionable at all. The way you expand your vocabulary is you do searches, and we're looking for academic vocabulary because expanding our vocabulary is a big task. It's very vague. How do we tackle massive tasks like this? Well, we break them down and we go specifically for what we need. In this case, it's academic vocabulary. It's still very broad. So we break it down again, and we're going to go for the topics that we see on the IELTS test. So it could be environmental issues, it could be education, it could be society, it could be crime, it could be science, technology. These topics that we see again and again on the IELTS test. So we're looking for academic vocabulary related to the topic of technology. Okay? Or let's just use climate change or the environment because that's a very popular one. How do we expand our vocabulary? Well, we'll just go to Google, go to your search engine and put something like climate change government report.ac.uk, and we'll get reports from the government or reports from the academic universities. Okay, and you can also do, microplastics if you want to go even more specific. Microplastics government report.gov or government report PDF. And this way we can read through the whole article, and we're reading academic English, and we're going to identify vocabulary that we can use in not only in our writing, possibly in our speaking as well, but definitely in our writing. But also we're just going to get familiar with it, and this will help us with the listening test, because the more words we know, the more words we're more familiar with, the less chance of any misunderstanding. Now, the final piece of advice that I want to share with you is this new tool that we'll be linking to. So as I said, go to IELTS Podcast and search for Introduction to the Listening Test. And we have this new tool, and it's called Muscle Spelling. And you copy paste the words that you want to learn how to spell, or that you want to basically improve your vocabulary with. And then you paste that list in. You can put postcodes, zip codes, telephone numbers, all of this. paste these into the bar on the left hand side, and then you will hear it, and then you've got to type it. Okay, so it'll say something like, I think one of the words that it comes in already sort of like preordained or already in the actual tool is beautiful, and then it'll say beautiful, and then you've got to type the word beautiful into the cells. It's a bit difficult to explain, and if you get it wrong, the screen flashes red, and you've got to start. It'll show you the word, and then it'll disappear, and then you've got to type it again. I didn't do the best job of describing it there, but it's a very useful tool, and we're working on getting it into our IELTSPodcast.com. Now, just one last thing, that when you are deconstructing the test, one thing to keep an eye out for is this little trick called like contradicting. And what happens is that the speakers will say, "Are we meeting at 4?" And then you will hear the other speaker say, "Yes, we're definitely meeting at 4 o'clock." And the other person says, "Actually, can we move it back an hour?" And then the other person will say, "Let me check my diary. Actually, yes, that's fine." Okay, so the low-level speakers will have just picked up on the initial part of the sentence, who said, "Yes, we're definitely meeting at 4. The high-level students will have picked up that the second speaker actually said, "Actually, can we bring it back an hour?" which means bring it back to 3 o'clock. And this technique is basically called contradiction. So if you are listening to an exam and you hear one of the speakers explicitly give you the answer for the question that you're looking at, stay focused. Do not switch off your brain. It's like, got it. So easy. Do not do that. Stay focused and listen right through the next few sentences to see or to hear if there is a contradiction. Do they go back and reorganize it? In my experience, to catch out the lower level students, they will explicitly give you the answer. So if it's too easy to be true, if it's too good to be true, as they say, it possibly is. So just keep focused and keep listening. A few more sentences, a few more seconds, just to see if there's that contradiction there. So that's everything. We've gone on a little bit longer than I wanted to. However, I hope you've got a lot of value from this. And remember, if you are struggling with the exam, please get in contact with us at ben@IELTSPodcast.com. We can share some resources with you. And as I said, when you sign up, we've got the big list of collocations and synonyms from very generously shared with us from VNOD. And yeah, it just makes preparing for the exam a lot easier, a lot more straightforward when you've got professionals helping you and guiding you and making sure you improve. So you're not alone in this. Reach out to us, we can help you, and we're helping a lot of students at the moment, so please get in contact, and we wish you all the best. Take care.
Thanks for listening to IELTSPodcast.com.